Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is sponsored by Townsend Automotive Group in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This year, many of us are relearning to cherish things closer to home, and that goes for any trips away from it as well. Enter the road trip, perfect for a weekend getaway, a camp out as the weather cools, or, if you're like me, dinner reservations. The Townsend Auto Group began 48 years ago with the late Charles Townsend, who started selling cars in his hometown of Memphis in the early 50s. Later, he and his family moved to Alabama, and in 1972, he purchased the local Ford dealership, and soon other dealerships followed. Today, this company is still built on service and connection with its customers, and they want to remind you of the joys of a jaunt down the road. The staff can get you into a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV you'll love to drive. Of course, catching up on those Southern Fork podcasts as you go, and their service staff will keep you going. Townsend Automotive Group salutes local entrepreneurs, from restaurateurs to podcasters, and they welcome you to be a part of a community that does the same. Visit TownsendHonda.com, TownsendNissan.com, or TownsendAutomotiveDemopolis.com to learn more. Or, if you're in West Alabama, stop in at any of their 3 locations. Now, it's time to go to the farm. Spade and Clover Gardens is located on Johns Island, South Carolina. And the day I visited, dappled sun splashed along the country roads as I drove under a canopy of live oak trees, the sky a clear blue above it. It seemed easy to imagine all kinds of beautiful produce coming from a plot of land like this. And it does. John Warren is a young farmer who's committed to the belief that a farmer's mission is to grow with as little negative ecological impact as possible. He produces a variety of crops, many of which make their way onto some of the best plates or in the best to-go boxes from some of the best restaurants in Charleston. Still, I would argue that his growing of turmeric and ginger in the sandy Lowcountry soil has had the most impact and suggested the most potential for both new crops for farmers and gardeners here and new inspiration for cooks in the region that now have access to ultra-fresh product. Welcome to the Southern Fork.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, this is a fun morning for me. I'm glad that I chose really a day that reminds me that there once was a Garden of Eden. Weather has broken, and then that mainly means the humidity this time of year. So it's gorgeous, it's clear. We're not being chewed up exactly this second by mosquitoes. So we are sitting next to a pond right adjacent to your fields here on Johns Island, and we're sitting outside, so you can hear the cicadas, birds, all kinds of things, but I guess I am just going to start with the hard question. Why in the world did you decide to be a farmer?
I don't think I have one answer for that, but I was trying to live in New York and make it as a visual artist, and I think I was kind of done with the scene after 10 years and wasn't really striving for that anymore. And 2008 financial crisis hit, and felt like I needed to go back to something more basic. So started farming not too long after that. And it was more of a stripping down of my activities and my motivation more than anything. So it was actually, at the time, it felt like I needed to adjust myself and get comfortable with not making money and being able to support myself in other ways.
Grow your own food.
Yeah, grow my own food.
Right. Homestead, that kind of thing.
Yeah, engage in activities that were somehow beneficial to just becoming useful to others. I wasn't really useful to anyone.
Understand. Do you see collaborations or connections between a visual art life and this life?
I do see connections in the tactileness of them, and sort of putting your body in harm's way to accomplish, a goal. And certainly with sculpture, there's, it's like sculpting the land, I guess.
Right. Well, it is. You're working with some kind of natural element.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And it's constantly responsive. So, the way that I used to make art was very do this, and then something new arises that you need to respond to. And so farming is that way, where and it has momentum. So I think once I got started and began responding, it just never really stopped.
And it's been 7+ years, right?
Yeah, well, I've had Spade and Clover for over 7 years now, and been farming for almost 10.
I think I first saw or learned about you through a restaurant menu, seeing the farm names on restaurant menus, and then learning about your operation, going by your table at the farmer's market, starting to intersect with you as a business owner, but also as really a creative, because you pretty quickly became known as growing some of the most unusual or special varieties. You're very much a specialty organic producer. Would you put yourself in that category?
Sure.
Yeah. And so that just means like no monocrop. You're not like growing something with a little bit on the side, but you're doing this organically. And I mean, for a new farmer, organic, we've just had a season where a lot of people gardened for the first time, and they had this idea that like they were going to be organic and they were just going to do this. And it seems like a really hard life of trying to basically place bets all the time with nature. Why is organic farming important to you?
Growing in a way that is not harmful is important, just so I can look people in the eye at the farmer's market,
right,
and feel proud about what I have on the table, and what I'm offering to chefs and stuff. I think in that way, it's kind of a no-brainer, and it would be bizarre to be the specialty crop person growing the weird stuff and doing it conventionally.
Right, but you have to learn some practices that can help you. I mean, like, you're not just like putting it out there and going, good luck.
Yep.
There is a method to this. We just walked the fields, and you told me about fire weeding, which sounds like the best kind of weeding
flame
ever.
Weeding, yeah.
Flame weeding.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, conventional farmers it's not easy to do that either. And one of the things about conventional farming is that a lot of it based on paranoia in a way over what could happen to my crop if I don't do this. Mm-hmm. And I think with organic farming, you accept a certain amount of loss, and the activities on your farm are not like they are for the end result. At least for me, they're A, for the end result, but also for you're going through a process. You're agreeing to go through a process, where you might not get what you want mm-hmm. out of it. Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, the diversity of crops helps with, it's kind of like a mutual fund where you put your eggs in many baskets. Some of them won't work out, but, if conditions are one way, one thing won't work out, but something else will thrive. So,
like, for example, you gave me the example this morning about the peas. Can you mm-hmm. recount that example? So you employ cover crops a lot, yep. right? So,
yes. Yep. So cover cropping, I mean, is something that a lot of farmers do, and it's a way to give the field a break on the one hand. Mm-hmm. So in one of my fields right now, I'm about to turn over the field and plant some Austrian winter peas and some barley in there. And the idea is that the Austrian winter peas will climb the barley, and then this will make them longer, grow larger, and we'll eventually cut them down, and that'll feed the next crop. But if I do have some really nice pea tendrils come out of that, and I have time to pick them, I will. Mm-hmm. And they can go pretty cold and still survive. So if we get a cold winter and they're still living, and I don't have other things, other things are cosmetically damaged, I'll draw from them. And there's lots of different cover crops that are like that, where you can plant them mm-hmm. and use them as either food crop or as or to feed future food crops. So right. Examples are daikon radishes, turnips, barley. I mean, it's pretty in bouquets, so there's a lot of different bouquet things like that. Sunflowers.
I've seen a lot of sunflowers being grown this year.
Yeah.
From farmers like, okay, we can sell these.
Yeah, I mean they're remarkably easy, mm-hmm. and mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of bang for your buck with those.
So this is a lot of reading. This is a lot of research. This is also probably a lot of talking to other farmers and mm-hmm. just learning about the crops, right? And I'm here specifically today because I've become enamored of two of your crops, the turmeric and the ginger. And number one, they're beautiful, like gorgeous plants, but yep. you produce beautiful hands of turmeric and ginger. And I know that they're loved in the restaurants, which right now we aren't seeing as much of that creativity happening right now. There's a lot of just holding on through this period. Mm-hmm. But to that end, you mentioned that you've kind of expanded your CSA, and I've been able to purchase turmeric and ginger from the farmers market, and then also from Lowcountry Street Grocery, a past guest here on the Southern Fork. But I'm just, I love some ginger and I love turmeric, but I couldn't imagine it actually growing here. But it's perfect for this environment. Mm-hmm. What gave you the idea to first grow these tropical crops?
I think so. My friend Meg Moore grew them, mm-hmm. and she was the first person I ever saw grow them, and so I wanted to give it a shot. Lowcountry Local First had a incubator farm out here where I got started, mm-hmm. Where Spade and Clover got started. And moving down so I farmed on Block Island for a year, and then moved down and worked at Joseph Fields for a year, and then started Spade and Clover here. And I wanted to grow things that I could imagine people would want to grow up north but can't.
Right.
Right. In places where they, where it's cooler, and there's actually a lot more farm to table kind of stuff going on up there. So I wanted to do it for that reason, and also just curiosity. I think the first couple years, I kind of steadily steadily grew more, and people always bought it. And then I think it was my third year. For some reason, my seed producer, it's P&O Organics out of Hawaii, they just gave me a lot of extra turmeric and ginger. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why they did that. I still don't really know why they did that. And they gave me really good seed that year. And I'd already expanded maybe 3 times what I grew the year before, and then they gave me extra. So I had way more than I knew what to do with. And that was the year that we had, I think it was 2016. So that was the year that we had that 2 feet of rain, and then extremely wet fall.
The 1,000-year flood.
Yeah.
Year. Mm-hmm.
The 1,000-year flood every 5 years. Yeah. The only thing that made it through that was turmeric and ginger on my farm.
Right.
And I happened to have about almost a half acre of it. So it was a lot. Mm-hmm. And that year I was able to save seed for both of them, mainly because I had too much. Mm-hmm. So with the turmeric, we found out it was really easy to save seed. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it can grow wild around here if you let it. So it was a way to make use of the summers where it's, eventually everything kind of succumbs to the heat no matter what.
Right. The tomato season is over by mid-July.
Yeah.
And then there can be a second crop. The radishes, you can get 2 crops in.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff, it's just super hot. The only thing that really does it is okra and peppers.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. That's about right. I mean, maybe corn. And honestly, the way that I feel in the summertime, I can't think in that kind of heat. Mm-hmm. So they like it that hot, they like it that humid, and it's something you can just kind of you can make use of that time. They can grow out and fill out through that time. Mm-hmm. So it's nice.
So it's a beautiful plant, which I think a lot of people who are into houseplants would be familiar with. What you're actually harvesting and keeping for seed, but also for food, is the root, otherwise known as the rhizome, right?
Yep.
And when you started collecting this and harvesting this, how did you sell it to Lowcountry cooks? I mean, there's a lot of education that has to go on there, both at the farmer's market table and at the back, at Grow Food and individually with chefs.
Yeah. Well, the ginger sells a lot easier than the turmeric to chefs or to home cooks. I think because there's an aspect of ginger that has been Americanized, gingerbread cookies or right. things like that. So people get excited about that one.
In Charleston, they love a mule cocktail, which is all ginger. So yeah.
Yeah. So that one's easy. The turmeric is harder. I feel like that one you have to sell in terms of color. Mm-hmm. It's a color you can't get anywhere else.
Right.
And it's a dimension of flavor that you can't get anywhere else. So if people are
there's a bitterness to it, there's a heat to it, there's a vegetal quality to it, and I mean, if you're familiar with turmeric, Lowcountry or Southern Fork listeners, then you're probably familiar with it through Indian cuisine and the different cuisines of the subcontinent India, because that orange color is usually from turmeric, and then turmeric is having, I guess the word is a moment right now, definitely on Instagram and in coffee houses and things like that. Have you been able to capitalize on any of that? Have you seen more people be interested in it?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. In the more for juicing and that kind of thing, definitely. Butcher and Bee early on was buying a fair amount of turmeric from us, and now it's we sell to a couple places in Columbia as 14 Karat Whole Foods, as well as Rosewood Market in Columbia.
One of the greatest organic markets in that area, for sure.
Yeah, just incredible.
We're doing it 25 years before anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a community center as well as a market.
Yes.
So, yeah, selling it retail that way, and then selling it to places like Hurriali and two. So people are using it in a conventional way, and then they're also using it in sort of more Americanized transformations of it, putting it in smoothies, putting it in lattes, things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm down to sell it to whoever wants to buy it.
So in order to diversify your work and keep, really, like you say, keep that mutual fund kind of idea working for you as a farmer, you're selling it in multiple ways. You're selling it
correct, yeah.
both in the wholesale way to restaurants and purveyors and markets. You're selling it at the farmer's market. You're selling the plants, correct?
Yep.
And then you're also selling the dried?
Yep. Right. Yeah. So we take some of our crop and we make powder out of it. So we make the actual spice. We sell that mainly at farmers market because we need to get a high dollar for the amount of labor that takes.
Right.
But it's a nice thing to have around, and sometimes it's a more easy way for people to kind of initiate themselves and to the crop and use it in a way that they feel more comfortable.
And turmeric needs a fat, right, in order to be bioavailable to the body?
Yeah.
I think so. That's why the smoothies and the lattes are
right.
Good.
Yeah, fat. Black pepper is supposed to somehow unlock something with it. I mean, the way that it grows, you can feed turmeric you can feed the leaves with nutrients, and you can also feed the soil, and it likes as complicated, funky a soil as you can get. So as much compost as you can get. Once it's fully grown and able to accept more nutrients, you can feed it as much as you want. And compost tea, worm castings, just a lot of different things. It can uptake it in many different ways.
And you can replant. What you're saying, that seed is really the center of the plant, the mother. And so as it expands, then you crack off those globs of root.
Yeah. So it looks like growing underground. It looks like a hand, and what you typically sell throughout the season are the fingers of the hand, and then what you're left with is the corm, which is the center. It's like the palm. It's actually how you replant bananas and other things as well. But I save the corm to replant because it's the oldest part of the plant, and it's usually got the most stored energy in it. And so if we have plants that aren't expressing any kind of virus or bacteria or anything, we choose those corms. But yeah, so I do sell some corms to other farmers as well. Typically a turmeric plant produces 3 times the amount that I need to replant. Just with the corms. If you wanted to replant the fingers, I mean, you could grow your crop by 12 times a year if you wanted to.
So this is a really viable option for Lowcountry farmers, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And for home gardeners too. I mean, you don't have to dig up the plant and replant it. You can leave it there. It'll perennialize. It'll grow bigger every year. So there are lots of options for what you do with it. And
it's obvious that you are investing in this and really pushing this kind of idea. You're now growing 6 different varieties of ginger and turmeric, or just turmeric?
That's just turmeric, yeah.
Just turmeric.
It's nice because turmeric protects itself. We've gotten down to whatever, I think 13 degrees one year, and it survived through that. So it can go through some cold, but what's nice about it is I've learned how to keep it around for a long time. So, the harvest window is almost 6 months with turmeric. So that's with it in the ground. I can just keep it there. And then the storage window is another 6 months. So I don't try to push it on. I don't try to push my turmeric sales very hard, but I just have it all the time.
Right.
So it makes it if you're not ready for, it's not like, cauliflower where you might get three crops of it in a season. It's like, it's there,
Right.
So, in a way, there's not the excitement behind it for that reason.
Right,
like people aren't
it's not
excited
ramp
for turmeric season.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's basically all the time, if you know how to treat the plant and how to store it. And that's also the reason for having multiple ways of selling it, multiple kind of incarnations of it, and also telling people, yeah, you can replant it. You take it home, create your own demand somewhere. Hey, I've got 5 pounds of turmeric that you sell to someone. Can I get more? No, but I know where to get more, So I'm happy for other people to grow it, happy for other farmers to grow it. It makes it easier.
Before I ask the final 4 questions that I ask of every guest on the Southern Fork, I want to know if farming has helped you in the way that you thought it would as far as personal development when you left the art world.
Yeah. Good question. I would say, absolutely, most of the time, in terms of the cultivation of, my own personhood and a way of existing in the world. I think at this point, I'm sort of interested in more long-term farming. I'm starting to get more interested. I started out being interested in these like permaculture, lofty permaculture ideas, and the practicality of organic farming, and making a profit, being sustainable in terms of actually making money.
Right. Sustainable is also a personal thing.
Yeah.
And a business thing.
Yeah.
Beyond just recycling.
Yeah, for sure. Right. I beat myself up pretty bad the first 3 years, for sure. Actually injured myself a couple of times, just overworking. And I would say, just kind of disappeared from certain friendships that I had, being, concerned about things at the farm. But so now I'm more interested in how the farm sustains itself and what capital I'm drawing at any given moment. So, capital, if it's monetary or if it's in the capital of friendships and being accountable to people is equally as important. And you definitely feel that now with COVID. So my interests have changed since I started, for sure. And I think for the better. They're more complicated now.
Yeah. So it's become a part of your life instead of an addendum to your life or a drop out of your life to try this for a few years.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely incorporated.
No, I'm a lifer. I don't really see myself doing anything else. And I see it as an art form in and of itself. Mm-hmm. So,
what is making you hungry? What's the next step for you?
The next step is being able to build long-term fertility in the soil and having long-term crops. Being able to grow, 30-year-old fruit trees.
Right.
Things like that. Starting more long-term processes. Because every year it's kind of this, it's this race to get in the ground first to get all your crops ready, and it just feels, you're hedging your bets every year. I would like more long-term kind of outlook with that whole thing. And,
right. At least in that direction. I don't know if you could ever get. It's never going to be an every 2 weeks paycheck, 9 to 5 type kind of situation. But.
Definitely, it gets exhausting, and it's also not very exciting. When you're like, okay, first arugula crop of the season, and you're just like, this is cool. This is great.
Yeah.
But it gets to be a kind of emptiness to it. It's like, plant radishes every 2 weeks. Great.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
they are profitable, fun.
Especially the French ones.
Yeah. It just gets tiring.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people work on the farm for maybe 2 seasons and then they move on. And they're like, so that's what that's like, you know? And to be a lifer in the annual farming business, I don't really want that for myself.
Got it.
So.
Got it. What's one aspect of this job that you've created for yourself that really meshes like a puzzle piece with an aspect of your personality?
Personality? See, I'm under the idea that personalities can change.
I am too, but there's certain things that just seem to be in us. Like, I've always been a talker. So, that's the microphone.
Yeah. I think I've always sort of had an orientation towards spaciousness in my life and in my personal life. I'm someone who meditates every morning. I need a lot of silence to focus on what I'm doing. So, you know, you get that on the farm. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for this.
That is a perfect answer. That's a perfect answer. There's no, like, this isn't like a graded test. It's just, you know, just interesting. No, that's perfect. What keeps you up at night?
I mean, I have perpetual paranoid delusions about things eating my plants. And, I mean, I was probably overdoing it with looking at the news for a while. And I've actually had to just turn off the news entirely. And that was keeping me up. And that was actually kind of ruining my days, honestly. So my media diet now is a little bit of radio stuff. And we have an Instagram account that I'm personally not really using anymore. So that the stuff with the technology and the phone will keep you up, and it has for me. So I've kind of toned that down as much as possible.
Okay, this is a magical place, and I can bring one of my favorite tools to it for you. I have a magic picnic basket. I can time travel with it. I only use it for guests on the Southern Fork because I have no idea how to make money with it. But I can go back and ask somebody to cook a specific thing for you. I can source for you. I can cook a little bit myself. And in order to put together a dream meal in your picnic basket, it doesn't have to go together. It just has to be what you would like to eat. What am I going to bring you?
You're going to bring me some risotto.
Okay. From where? Anybody specific?
Anna, my girlfriend, makes incredible risotto. And whatever. She's going to cook something, and it's going to go in there. And then I would say Bob cooks catfish curry dish at Edmund's Oast. I don't know if it's still there. That was one of the best meals I've ever had.
I've never had that Bob cook, so
yeah, amazing.
Put that on the special board at least.
Yeah. My friend Andy, who's for some reason I'm spacing on his last name, he works at he's a chef at Dockery's now. He made a dish one time that I had when he worked at the lot where Quaife is now. That kind of, it had like some mushrooms in it, and it was a pasta dish, and there was like squid ink in it too, and it kind of looked like something you'd scrape off the bottom of a sink. It was delicious.
You're selling it. You're selling it.
The ugliest thing I've ever seen, but it was unbelievably good.
Yeah.
And I think Dano Hines, when he worked at McCrady's and I went there, he just brought out dish after dish for me that night. And that was kind of like walking through a Salvador Dali painting, like a surrealist taste bud experience. And that was pretty far out.
Yeah.
I I didn't really respect fine dining before that. And that made me see that it could kind of change your mind in different ways.
I have had a couple of experiences like that too, and it does change. And but you have to kind of succumb to it and just like enjoy the off-kilterness of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that all diners really see food as an art form like that. So they can't really succumb, they're kind of fighting that whimsy in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of playing on my nostalgia, or I would be like, where I'm like in my parents' kitchen at home, like growing up eating SpaghettiOs right now. Like, what is happening?
Right. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
That's good. Beverage? Any beverage? Tiger milk latte by chance?
Oh, a beverage for, I don't drink. So, and I don't really take that much pleasure in drinking anything besides coffee or water.
Okay, so just a nice cup of coffee.
Thinking about stopping caffeine too. But.
Oh no. Okay.
Water. I'll have room temperature water.
From a select spring. Well, if people want to learn more about Spade and Clover, turmeric, John Warren, the Charleston beautiful Lowcountry that produces such very interesting crops, you can go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm going to have images there as well as links, so you can click through and learn more information. If you like what you hear, I'm sorry, it's not for you. It's just really for me. I get the opportunity to just drive out on one of the most gorgeous drives that really is only 30 minutes from my house, and it's one that I would suggest one of the best drives in the country, and River Road, and come visit John Warren on a beautiful Wednesday morning. So
thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for letting me come and visit.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouthful. I want to clarify something I said in this interview when I said that turmeric was having a moment. That is something I usually don't talk about on the Southern Fork. Of course, I have my favorite kinds of subjects, but I'm not usually that person that's following trends, food trends on Instagram. Like, I don't really care about the cronut or avocado toast. Even though I like avocado toast, I'm not making it into an art form. Recently there was this trend of people creating beautiful focaccia with all of these herbs and kind of painting with herbs so that it looked like a garden or something like that. That's all really well and good, but I probably wouldn't do a show on any of those things. But I have really enjoyed bringing more turmeric and ginger into my kitchen, and so I really wanted to share with you why. It's as simple as that. And I have been a huge ginger fan for a long time. My personal weakness inside my house, like almost I kind of have to keep them, are these Trader Joe's ginger cookies. They're like a ginger snap. I love those things. I love candied ginger. I love ginger ale. I like homemade ginger ale. The Rare Bit makes homemade ginger ale for their ginger mules. That's a bar here in Charleston, and it's super spicy and super acidic. It's delicious. So, I'm on that train. But really, John Warren helped me bring more turmeric into my diet. And it was just a frank thing. I thought when I got a CSA from Lowcountry Street Grocery one time, a box from them, I thought that I was getting ginger, and I cut into it and it was turmeric because they look pretty similar from the outside. So I started going, how am I going to use this fresh turmeric? I think it just has such an interesting flavor, fresh. I'm a huge, huge smoothie person. I drink a smoothie every day. Okay, you can turn it off now. I know it'd be a lot more Southern and a lot more on brand if I ate Benton's bacon with a couple eggs every morning. But I'm not jumping on a tractor. I'm sitting in my walk-in closet talking. So I don't need a bacon and eggs breakfast every morning. I need a smoothie, specifically a green, kale, blueberry, walnut, and turmeric smoothie with a little bit of coconut milk and some 2%. Yeah, that's who's talking to you right now. But the turmeric has been a nice addition to that smoothie, especially the fresh stuff. And sometimes I will often put ginger in there too. I've gotten to where I have to keep fresh ginger in the house. I'm making a dish tonight with fresh ginger, and I used it in a dish on Tuesday. So I think I'm going down this needing these really aromatic, spicy things in the kitchen right now because I'm cooking so much at home. Still not doing my usual eating out so much for work. So I just wanted to share with you something that you can bring into your kitchen. Enjoy this fall as the weather cools. It's nice to spice it up in the kitchen. So anyway, happy cooking. Until next time.
You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations, but in the meantime, I have one question. Are you gonna eat all that?